The moment passed, and despite feeling dizzy, she began the walk back towards the centre where the car was parked. By the time she reached the pine trees separating the dunes from the centre, she felt much better. Within the shadow of the trees it was dark now. The waves crashed nearby, the taste of salt carrying to her on the breeze. Approaching the gate, she stopped. Several shadows moved in the gloom in front of her, barring her way. Something unnatural, unexpected. Taking the head torch from her pocket, she turned it on and angled the white light along the path ahead of her. They weren't here when she passed before. Anger flared within, tinged with fear, but she quelled it, ensuring the watcher wouldn't see. She couldn't allow them the pleasure. Turning the beam to either side of the path, she scanned the trees and brush, seeking who or what she didn't know, and silently praying she wouldn't see anyone. The beam was cut out by the birds, all 5 of them decapitated and hanging by their feet from wire tied to branches overhead, swaying gently back and forth in the breeze. "Do you think this frightens me?" Only the breakers on the shoreline and the breeze passing through the canopy overhead broke the silence. She raised her voice, shouting now. "This doesn't scare me," she called, hearing the edge of panic in her tone, angering her further. "I'll not stop." Movement above her saw her start, glancing up to see something pass through the beam of the torch. It was probably an owl. On another night she'd be delighted. Not this night. Taking a half-step backwards, she almost stumbled on a fallen branch. She had to leave as quickly as possible. Sidestepping the display left for her, she found her gaze lingering on it as she hurried past. The white light cast by the torch in her hands gave the scene an ethereal glow, fueling her growing anxiety as she eyed the birds side by side, noting they'd also been crudely gutted. Both the heads and entrails lay on the path at her feet. Turning her back, she hurried to the gate, struggling to open it despite the latch being unsecured. The path down to the centre, itself locked up and in darkness, was well laid, and the safety of her car was only a few steps away. Reaching it, she fumbled with her keys, dropping them on the floor. Kneeling, she rummaged around blindly for them with one hand whilst casting the beam of light back towards the path in case anyone should appear. Not that she would know what to do if they did. Her fingers curled around the fob and she unlocked the car, clambering in and slamming the door shut before pressing the button to deadlock the doors. Only now did she feel safe. With difficulty, her fingers trembling, she slotted the key into the ignition and started the car. Casting aside the torch, she turned on the headlights, which illuminated where she'd just come from. The beams penetrated deep into the gloom of the pine trees. The silhouette of a figure appeared, its features masked by a hood and a thick overcoat. The dead birds provided a macabre backdrop. She thrust the car into gear, forgetting to depress the clutch. An awful grinding sound followed, and the car lurched forward as the engine stalled. She turned the key again, pressing the accelerator repeatedly, but the engine merely turned over and over, failing to start. Casting an eye back to the gate, the figure was gone. Somehow that fueled her borderline panic even more. The engine burst into life and she pulled away. Her phone rang, connected through the car speakers, and she accepted the call, relieved to hear another voice. "Hello," she said, looking behind her through her mirrors as she left the visitor's centre. Nothing moved. "I see you, Mary." "Who is this?" she asked, fearfully, glancing at the display registering an unknown caller. "Wherever you go, Mary, I see you," the voice repeated. It sounded throaty, brusque, and terrifying. "Leave me alone." The caller laughed, a slow, soft, melodic sound. "I see you."